Thank you. Good evening. Tonight's Committee of Adjustment hearing is being held by video conference and live streaming video on the town's live stream website at oakville.ca. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variance and consents held under the authority of the Planning Act. Please keep in mind the intent of this process is to review the application that is before the committee, listen to the evidence, and then make a decision. This process is not intended to be used to resolve any concerns or disputes that may exist between the town, individuals, or organizations. If a request for a deferral is made and the committee grants such a request, the applicant or authorized agent must contact the Secretary Treasurer to schedule a new hearing date. In order to conduct an effective and efficient electronic hearing, we have adopted the following process. If you're watching the live stream of this hearing on oakville.ca, and if you wish to speak to an item on the agenda, you can call 905-815-6095. Again, 905-815-6095. Phone number is also posted on your screen below the live stream at oakville.ca. Staff will be standing by to take your call. When you call in, staff will ask your name, item number you wish to address, and your telephone number. Further instructions will be provided for you to call back to join the video conference. When the chair or committee polls for interested parties, press *6 to unmute yourself. The applicant or agent will be given the opportunity to briefly explain to the committee the basis of the application and answer any questions that may arise. Maximum 5 minutes will be provided for a presentation. You'll need to state your full name and address for the record. Any submissions beyond 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. All delegations must also state their full name and address. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for your presentation. All remarks and questions are to be directed to the chair. Any submissions beyond 5 minutes will again be at the discretion of the committee. The applicant or agent will then be provided with a further 5 minutes to respond to the comments made by any interested parties and answer any questions from the committee members. If the applicant or agent has any concerns found in the staff report, particularly with the proposed conditions, this is your opportunity to advise us. The matter will then be taken into committee for a decision. This will mark the end of all discussion. Any person desiring a notice of decision for an application must provide a written request, preferably through email, to the Secretary Treasurer. Written notice of the committee's decision will be mailed not later than 10 days for minor variance and 15 days for consents to the applicant or agent and any other person who filed a written request for such notice. The last day to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal will be noted on the decision. Only the applicant, specified persons, or public bodies may appeal the committee's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. In November 2022, Bill 23, the More Homes Built Faster Act, amended the Planning Act to remove appeal rights for members of the public. If no appeal is received within the prescribed time frame, the decision of the committee becomes final and binding. Secretary Treasurer will then notify the applicant and anyone who received a copy of the decision through written correspondence. People participating in this hearing are to be courteous to and respectful of the members of the committee, town staff, and other people participating in this electronic hearing. Tonight's electronic hearing is being video recorded and available for future viewing at oakville.ca. Thank you. See, we have regrets from Ms. McHale tonight. Committee members, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? See none from Mr. Dickey. Ms. Price, we can't see you.
I know, I'm not sure why it's not working. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. So no declaration of pecuniary interest then?
No.
It was working earlier. Hopefully you can get that fixed. Madam Secretary Treasurer, do we have any requests for deferral or withdrawal tonight?
The picture's not coming on.
I had one earlier request. I don't see a hand up though. One moment, please.
I'm not to do. I leave and come. I'm going to leave and then come back.
Okay.
Would you like me to move Catherine McEwen into the meeting for her deferral?
Yes, please, but it's just a matter of procedure. Ms. Price has stepped out and is trying to reconnect. Does that affect quorum?
Yes, it does. We
So,
can wait.
okay, so we'll just pause and hopefully Ms. Price gets reconnected.
Okay.
There we are. Okay, we can see you now. You're muted at this point, but that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, we can hear you. I see Ms. McEwen is in now. Good evening, Ms. McEwen.
Good evening. Sorry about that. I got disconnected as well there.
Technology is great when it works.
We would like to request a deferral for application A60/2025. We received comments and would like the opportunity to meet with staff prior to proceeding.
Okay, thank you. I'm Secretary Treasurer. It looks like we may have lost Ms. Price again. Ms. Price, can you hear us? This meeting is going to go smoothly. I'm hoping Ms. Price is trying to reconnect again. I see her frozen in a split screen. So she's disconnected. That's a good sign. So, Ms. Price, maybe you should try leaving your camera off. Can you hear us? Ms. Price, are you able to hear us? Madam Secretary Treasurer, are you able to try to contact Ms. Price? Maybe she could call in and I'll just have to remember to keep calling on her to see if she has any questions.
Ms. Price could call in using the number that you give, Mr. Chair, and we could listen to her that way.
Yeah, that'd be great if, I don't know if well, she probably can't hear us. Are you able to try to contact her by phone?
Yes, we have her number. Jen, who's in the back manning the phones, will give her a call. But if she could get her camera working and just not the volume, she could raise her hand if we just can't hear her.
Yeah, I know from my perspective, her camera was just flashing rapidly and then freezing. But, if we can get her on the phone, I can just try to remember to keep calling on her to make sure we can't see her.
Okay.
I'm assuming that
Okay.
wouldn't
If,
impact.
sorry. If member Susan Price is able to hear us, then she could let us know verbally if she agrees to a file or disagrees.
Yeah, I see she's back on the screen now. Ms. Price, can you hear us? She's not showing as muted, but I'm not getting any response. Okay. Ms. Price, can you hear us? I think she's having a significant issue tonight.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, good.
Great. So feel free to leave your camera off, and I'll just try to remember to call on you, and you can verbally tell us
Okay.
how you're voting, or I'll ask if you have questions. Okay, sorry about the delay, everyone. Ms. McEwen, this is probably the longest deferral request you've ever had. But, so you're seeking a deferral to meet with staff, result of the negative staff report. Okay, all those in favor of the deferral?
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Price. So that is unanimous. Your application is deferred. You'll see the Secretary Treasurer when you're ready to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary Treasurer, are there any further requests for deferral?
I'm showing no hands, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we will proceed with the, I'm going to say the first three applications of the night. We'll hear together and then deal with the motion separately for B2403 at 317 Gloucester Avenue and the companion, that's the severance application, and the companion minor variance applications A052 2024 and A053 2024, also 317 Gloucester Avenue. I see Mr. Walker on the line. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Voice coming through okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Good evening, chair, members of the committee. My name is Andrew Walker, principal planner with Gagnon Walker Domes. On behalf of Mrs. Amelia Francis, registered owner of 317 Gloucester Avenue. Subject site is located on the east side of Gloucester Avenue, immediately opposite Galt Avenue, and measures approximately 0.2 hectares, occupied by a single detached dwelling, detached garage with a driveway with 2 access points to Gloucester. Surrounding land uses are single detached residential dwellings. The consent application seeks to sever the subject site in half, creating 2 single detached residential lots. The retained lands measure approximately 0.1 hectares with 23.57 meters of frontage, while the severed lands measure approximately 0.1 hectares with 23.56 meters of frontage, and each lot will have its own separate driveway. As described in my March 11, 2025 cover letter, I'm of the opinion that the proposed consent to sever and minor variance applications represent good planning and are supportable. The following variances are being requested for the retained parcel. 1, to permit a minimum lot area of 1,069.2 square meters, and secondly, to permit a minimum lot frontage of 23.57, and for the severed parcel to permit a minimum lot area of 1,077.1 square meters, and secondly, to permit a minimum lot frontage of 23.56 meters. I reviewed the variances in the context of the 4 tests as described in my March 11 cover letter, and of the opinion that the applications meet the 4 tests, represent good planning, and are supportable. I've read the staff reports associated with the applications and wish to address some comments made therein. In this respect, I do not agree with staff's position that the applications be denied. One concern raised by staff is that the applications result in lots that are not in keeping with the predominant lotting pattern. I note the predominant lotting pattern in the area is single detached residential, and the proposal results in 2 lots accommodating single detached dwellings. Further, policies 3.9 and 4.3 of the official plan note some growth and change may occur, including intensification, provided the character is preserved and the overall urban structure is upheld. The proposed development maintains and preserves the overall urban structure as the proposals for 2 single detached dwellings as mentioned in an area designated for such uses. Variances result in residential lots sufficiently sized to accommodate single detached dwellings in keeping with the area character. I've undertaken a review of lot areas and frontages within the neighborhood included with the application package, and note that there is a wide range, including several lots within the same special policy area with lesser frontages than what is proposed. Another concern raised by staff is that the proposed severance and variances would not maintain the integrity of large lots per policy 28.2 regarding special policy area. Staff do acknowledge the proposed application meets the maximum permitted density of 10 units per hectare, it being 9.09. However, they suggest the proposal does not maintain the integrity of large lots of this special policy area. The official plan does not define large lot. As such, this interpretation is subjective. The proposed reductions are modest and reflect the range of sizes in the area, resulting in lots with frontages over 23 meters each, large lots by any stretch of the imagination. Another concern relates to maintaining and protecting existing neighborhood character and compatibility. According to staff, the proposal does not conform with policy 30.14.2, which provides direction on granting creation of new lots, noting criteria regarding size, shape of lot, requirements of zoning bylaw, and whether what is proposed is appropriate and compatible with adjacent lots. Other than the modest relief being sought, my client is not seeking any other variances. I submitted a summary of side yard setbacks in the surrounding area with the applications, noting there are numerous examples where the combined side yard setbacks are below the minimum. The proposed lots are large enough to accommodate the dwellings with appropriate interior side yard setbacks. In addition, staff note that policy 31.5 providing the definition of compatible, I'm of the opinion that the proposal provides large frontages and areas capable of accommodating all required setbacks and as such meet the definition of compatible. A further concern raised is the inclusion of lands on the west side of Gloucester in the analysis of neighborhood context, as they are located outside the special policy area. One experiences neighborhood context by experiencing both sides of the given street. Regarding staff's opinion, it is important to note that the proposed lots are both twice the size of any of the lots located on the west side. Staff raised concern regarding the potential impact that construction could have on existing street trees. The proposed dwellings are located well beyond the limits of the boulevard, and in response to earlier staff comments, the proposed site plans and driveways for each lot have taken this into account. Lastly, staff has suggested that the proposed variances undermine the existing and established neighborhood character. While the proposal does seek zoning relief, in my opinion, the relatively modest reductions still maintain generously sized properties. The plans submitted with the applications illustrate this point. The proposed dwellings are modest in size, sympathetic to the character of the neighborhood, striking a balance between built form and open lot area. I do not share staff's opinion that the proposal undermines the integrity of the official plan, nor the zoning bylaw. What is proposed will not destabilize the area, nor have a negative impact. This concludes my presentation. I seek the committee's indulgence in supporting the consent to sever and minor variance applications, and I'm available for any questions or comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Price, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Not at this moment, no.
Thank you. Mr. Dickey? You're muted, Mr. Dickey.
No questions, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Walker, I'll ask you a question. You referenced that the official plan doesn't have a definition of large lot, but the zoning bylaw and the special provision seeks to, maintain large lots, and in its standard of the frontage, actually, in my view, does give a definition of what a large lot is in terms of this special policy area. So when this can be read as the zoning is specifically intended to not allow the lots to be smaller than what the minimum standard is, how do you reconcile that this application meets the intent of the bylaw and is desirable?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. In my opinion, the lots that are being created do maintain a large lot. As noted, there is no definition of what a large lot is. At what point does a lot not become large? Recognizing that a modest and relatively modest reduction in the frontage, reflective of the severance of the application, which is allowing for a gentle intensification of this area, still produces two lots that are over 1,000 square meters in size, sufficiently large enough to accommodate detached dwelling, single detached dwelling units on the property, with all side yard setbacks. It maintains the openness of each of the lots. The frontages are over 23 meters, and as I mentioned, included in the package of materials is some mapping which identifies that there are a number of lots within the same special policy area that the subject site does reside in, do have reduced frontages below the 30.5, as well as lot areas that are below what is the in the zoning bylaw.
But using that as your justification, there's already lots smaller than the minimum, and you've got a bylaw that intent is to keep larger lots. Aren't you arguing that you're effectively should be ignoring the special provision by making all the lots smaller because there's other lots that don't comply with the minimum frontage?
No, I don't agree with that statement. What is being proposed is lot frontages and areas that are within the range of frontages and areas that are within the neighborhood. The policies speak to maintaining the character of the area, and by providing lots that are both in size and in frontage and the same uses, which are single detached residential dwellings, that is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. These are sufficiently large lots. They are over 23 meters wide in terms of their frontage of what is being created. You know, to the point of lands that are on the west side, while you do experience the character and the idea of maintaining and being in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, you can't just ignore the west side of the street. What is on the west side of the street are lots that are definitely smaller than what would result from the proposed application. These are over twice the size of anything that is on the west side of the street. They are large, and in that respect, the character of the neighborhood for maintaining large lots is maintained.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary Treasurer, I believe we've had a request to attend from a member of the public tonight. And if anyone wishes to speak to this application, if you can call 905-815-6095.
Yes, we're showing one hand up, Mr. Chair.
Good evening, Mr. Arnold.
Could you please state your name and address for the record, Mr. Bert Arnold?
He's muted still.
It's Bert Arnold. I'm solicitor in Georgetown, and I act for 257-3242 Ontario Limited. They're the owner of 322 Gloucester. The principal of that company occupies the property as a primary residence, and that's directly across the road. So it's really the most impacted. I also represent Ms. Walter Gellert, who is the owner of 125 Gloucester, which is her principal residence. Just bear with me. I'm getting feedback on audio.
Yeah, we're having several problems tonight. We can see you now. So.
Okay, you can see me. All right, well, no, I'm still getting feedback.
Are you connected to two devices by any chance? It tends to happen.
Nope. Bear with me.
We're not getting the feedback at our end, so if it's bearable for you, you can try to continue.
Okay, perhaps that'll help.
Hopefully.
But first, a general observation. Gloucester is a very narrow road, 50 feet in width. And currently, there's a lot of construction renovation on the on that street. And at times there's a lot of congestion and at times even impassable. So that's just a general observation. I want to refer to the special policy area and specifically some of the wording, which I think Mr. Walker inadvertently misrepresented. Let me just read from it. The special policy area in southeast, that's our case, southeast Oakville, that applies to the low density residential designation is intended to protect the unique character of this area within the town. And Mr. Walker makes and draws diagrams about the area, the neighborhood, but it's the character of the special policy area. So you need to ignore the lotting and the houses on the west side of Gloucester. They are not in the special policy area. He even includes lots on the north side of McDonald, and the very same thing applies, that those lots are not in the special policy area. To look at the appropriate area, we can look at the zoning map that's included in the comments from the town at page 11. Was I don't know. Am I still there?
Yep, you're fine. We can hear you fine and we can see you.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll just carry on. So it's clear in the on page 11 of the town comments. That's where you see the depiction of the lot fabric in the special policy area. And clearly those lots are larger than the ones to the west. And the subject property is pretty much an average lot size there. There are some smaller, there are some larger, but pretty much in the same size. So I think when you have to examine the character, it's the character of this area. It's the character of the special policy area, not the neighborhood. Because Mr. Walker would love to say it's the neighborhood, and I can sweep in all the smaller lots on the west side and say, well, let's all average it out, and I'm fine with the subdivision into the lot sizes that would be compatible to the west. That's not the special policy that's provided for. The other part of the special policy is the intensification shall be limited to development which maintains the integrity of the large lots. And there's really two aspects to maintaining. And first of all, I would point out that the word maintain means to keep. It doesn't mean to change, it means to keep. And there's two aspects of maintaining the integrity. One is that if you divide this lot in two, these lots will be smaller than most of the other lots. The other aspect of integrity is the clear and dangerous precedent, because if this, which is a typical large lot in the special policy area, if this is permitted to be divided, there's no rational reason why all the other lots can't be subdivided. And that would not maintain the integrity of the special policy area. So the precedent is really important. The official plan policy, and we can look at the regional official plan. There's no issue there. That's planning at 10,000 feet. It complies with those policies. But when you get to this specific policy, the consent application is required to have regard for conformity to the official plan. So you have to take into account that special policy area. And in my mind, in my submission, not only does it not conform, it is in direct conflict with that policy. In terms of the minor variance, the test is slightly different. It's whether the general intent and purpose of the official plan is maintained. Sometimes it's difficult to determine what the intent and purpose of a designation is. That's not the case here. It states in clear terms what the intent is: to maintain the integrity of the large lots. And that's an explicit policy. It in turn is implemented by the lot sizes provided for in the zoning bylaw. And therefore I submit that the minor variance application does not maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw is intended to implement the special policy. So in my submission, it is not minor. It's not appropriate use and development of the land, and it does not maintain the general purpose and intent of either the official plan or the zoning bylaw. I note that the applicant has owned the property since 2003. And during that period of ownership, the livable Oakville plan was developed, got adopted, went through public meetings. And there's no evidence that the applicant objected or appealed. And this application is, in a sense, a way to get around what was a public process and an adoption of a specific policy that was geared to a specific area. So in summary, for the reasons I've said it above, and as further articulated in the town staff report, I submit that these applications should all be denied. Thank you, and I'll be pleased to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arnold. Mr. Dickey, any questions? Ms. Price, any questions for the deputant?
No.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Arnold. And just poll to see if there's any other interested people before Mr. Walker. I'll give you an opportunity to reply. Madam Secretary Treasurer, has anyone else called in to speak to this matter?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have one more hand up. I'll move them into the meeting. One moment, please.
Yep. Good evening.
Good evening. Elizabeth Rukabina and my husband Stephen, we live at 299 Gloucester, so just 2 doors south from the applicant on the same side. And as such are directly impacted by the request for the variance that's being sought. Thank you for the opportunity to have a couple of minutes of your time on this variance. We support the conclusions that have been reached by the city staff in suggesting that should be a denial with respect to the application. We also support the submissions that Mr. Arnold just made to you. And you will note that a number of our other neighbors have also provided statements to the city, also living on the east side of the street and providing objections with respect to the relief that is being sought in the variance. And so those are the neighbors who are most directly impacted with respect to the application, both from a construction point of view and from a future variance point of view and future precedent point of view. There's nothing minor with respect to the variance that's being sought. It's almost 23% reduction off the minimum amount of the frontage that's available. So there's nothing minor about that. There's nothing modest about that. When you look at it in comparison to the large lots, and by any definition, the large lots that are on Gloucester, there is a special character to this street that the special policy was there to designed to protect, and the city should be ensuring that that continues to be protected. If this type of variance is permitted, then where does it stop? How would the city ever say that something less modest would not go forward? So there's a difficult precedent to set there, and you only need to take a short walk down the street to see the number of different lots and homes that are ready to be redeveloped on similar large lots that could suffer the same fate. And that would then have a serious detrimental effect on the street and really then cause the entire special policy to be put at question. So we'd ask you to continue to uphold that special policy. It was there for a reason. The city has decided that this is important. The neighborhood thinks it's important. So we would ask you to continue to support that and protect it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Ms. Price, any questions?
No, I think valid arguments have been made.
Okay, Mr. Dickey, any questions?
Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary Treasurer, any other interested parties wishing to speak to this matter?
We're showing no more names, Mr. Chair, but could you kindly read the names that haven't presented tonight that are on our sheet for tonight?
Okay, we have Michael Stanley. We just heard from the Cabinas, the Walsh-Walton family, and Margaret Shanahan. If no one else is called in to speak, Mr. Walker will give you an opportunity to respond to the letters of objection and the two presentations tonight, if you wish.
Yeah, I'll just provide a couple of really brief comments. It was noted or suggested that in reviewing the merits for the application that was looking only at the west side, that would be incorrect. It was noted that insofar as how one experiences the context of the neighborhood, but the proposal and the submission of the application does look at the special policy area. The mapping that was mentioned in the staff report, and as the delegate had said, there are some larger, some smaller. What is being proposed is within the range. It's above some that are smaller and it's below some that are larger. And so in this regard, if the ones that are smaller are okay for the area, one would assume that the same thing here. You can see some of these lots as you get closer to Moorcroft Road, and these are all in the same special policy area. Those lots are roughly in the 0.2 of a hectare size, whereas or 0.2 acre. My apologies. Whereas the proposed lots will be up around 0.23. So those there are lots that are of a similar size within the neighborhood. The lots that are being proposed will provide sufficient side yard setbacks. When you look at some of the side yard setbacks, there are some dwellings that are almost right up against the property line, and one would suggest that they are deficient in side yard setbacks. The proposal is the lots are sufficiently sized that we can accommodate the side yard setbacks. With regard to not appealing or objecting to a previous process, it does not prevent one at any point in time going forward into the future from filing an application, whether it be through minor variance or any other planning application, and that's what we have done here. It has come around to the point where we have sought the application, and we're before you today. And lastly, in just one note, in the staff reports, it would appear that the staff reports make reference to the number of objections, but it seems to misrepresent that there are letters of support, in particular a petition that was filed with the application with the 7 area resident signatures as well. So there are letters of support in addition to those that are in objection. I think it's important for the committee to be aware that there are members of the area that are in support of the application and not just against.
And you are correct, and we do have in our package the letter of support signed by various members of the community.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that. Okay, thank you for that. Committee members, any follow-up questions for Mr. Walker?
No.
Mr. Dickey? Okay, then I'm going to close discussion on this matter, and I'll be looking for three motions, three separate motions. First, we'll deal with application B24, which is the consent application. Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on my review of the owner's application, plans, a site visit, the presentation by the owner's consultant, the planning staff's report, and the letters of both letters of objection, letters of support, and the neighbors who have put forward the presentation today. My opinion that the severance is not acceptable. It does. They look to the planning department comment that it does not comply with the official plan criteria. That the size and shape should conform to the zoning bylaw and be compatible with adjacent lot. I don't see that the property is compatible to the adjacent lot, and I don't. The Planning Act criteria says that the dimensions and shape should be taken into consideration. The dimensions and shape of the lot should be compatible. In this case, in my opinion, it's not compatible. Therefore, I agree with what the planning department has said, and I put forth a motion that the application applied for be denied.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Ms. Price, do you have any comments on that motion?
I agree with Mr. Dickey. I think this special policy area needs to be maintained, and therefore I think that it is denied. The variance consent be denied.
Thank you, Ms. Price, and I'll just add in. I too will support that motion, and while I accept to a degree Mr. Walker's argument that you need to look at both sides of the road to establish the character of the neighborhood. Where I reject that argument is if you're going to carve up the east side and make it look like the west side, you are completely changing that character of the neighborhood. Okay, so with that, the motion on the floor is to deny the application for consent. All those in favor?
In favor.
Okay, thank you. So that is unanimous. The application is denied. Mr. Dickey, if I can call on you to keep going, and application A052-2024, the minor variance application.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My opinion, the variance for frontage and lot area is not minor in nature and does not conform to the fourth test of the Planning Act. Therefore, I put forth the motion that the application is applied for be denied.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Ms. Price, any comments on that motion?
I agree with Mr. Dickey. It should be denied.
Thank you. So the motion on the floor is to deny the application. All those in favor?
In favor.
Okay, so that too is unanimous. That application is also denied. And Mr. Dickey, if I can trouble you one more time, A053-2024, application for minor variance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, my opinion that the variances for frontage and lot area are not minor in nature and do not conform to the fourth test Planning Act. Therefore, I put forth the motion that the application is applied for be denied.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Ms. Price, assuming you're in favor of that motion.
I'm in favor as well.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion to deny.
Deny.
That too is unanimous. So that application has also been denied. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions.
Thank you.
The next application for anyone that's joined late, A060 at 371, 3071, 3079 Trafalgar Road. That has been deferred. That application will be heard at a later date. And we will move to application A64, 2025 at 318 Wooddale Avenue. Good evening, Mr. Van Coolen.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Just before you start your presentation, I'll just remind anybody watching that wishes to speak to this application, if you can call in at 905-815-6095. Okay. Please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Curtis Van Keulen, representing the owners of 318 Wooddale. Before you, we have an application for minor variance. For one minor variance, we're seeking a relief from the zoning bylaw, which is a lot coverage variance. We are seeking 38.6%, where 35% is required. I do want to note that we have reviewed staff comments. We do agree with staff comments. They are in support of the application. We are in agreement with the conditions as well. I did want to speak mostly to the contributing factor of the lot coverage variance. The lot coverage variance is comprised mostly of a rear single story structure. It is a rear covered porch. It is single story in height. It mitigates massing of the main portion of the building to the rear. There is also a good portion of that is a uncovered concrete porch. During construction, the owner, as the building, the owner working with the town staff, working through inspection processes, did decide during the construction that they wanted to use the area under the concrete porch as part of their basement space. So they changed the plans, working with town staff and working with the inspections team. We've submitted an application to the building department for a revised building permit application that went through review. That identified this lot coverage variance. We then filed the variance applications as well, and we're here before you tonight. Again, the massing of the structure is of very little impact on the neighboring, with more than 50% of that structure below grade, which is by default counted. The way that the zoning bylaw interprets the uncovered concrete porch with a living space below it, it loops it into the lot coverage variances and requires it to be counted. So by that, I want to stress that the impacts on the neighborhood are next to nothing, because most of that, like I said, is below grade. We do have letters of support. We canvassed the areas, and we do have 7 letters of support on file. Overall, we do agree with town's comments. It meets the 4 tests: the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, desirable in nature, and it does represent good use of the space. We did review a recent submission from a neighbor, a letter of objection. I note that the letter mostly goes into grading and drainage and setback issues. I wanted to stress that we are not here before you tonight to seek a side yard setback. All of the building does comply with all other bylaws in the zoning bylaw. And overall, the grading application is also in for a slight revision to address some of the changes due to the covered and uncovered porches. So that's also under application right now and is being reviewed by the engineers who are on file for that. Again, no other variances are attributed to this project. And again, in closing, we feel it's minor in nature and it meets the 4 tests. And I turn it back to you for any questions you might have.
Thank you. So just for clarity, do you still require a revised building permit?
Yes, technically we do require a revised building permit, and it is in process. The only condition with that revised building permit right now is this minor variance approval for the change in the basement plan, which utilizes the area under the covered and uncovered porches.
And so again, just for clarity for anybody that's watching or even for the committee, this variance isn't being triggered by the covered porches. It's because you're now including the basement, the area under the back patio as livable space in the basement, and that triggers that area to now have to be considered coverage as if it was just a rear deck or rear porch or patio. You wouldn't require this variance.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Price or Ms. Dickey? Mr. Dickey, do you have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Dickey?
Yes, thank you. I don't know if I wasn't looking in the right spot, but usually when somebody comes in for a lot coverage, they tell us how big the footprint is, how big the front porches are, front and rear, and what percentages. So if you would do that for me right now, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. On the site plan, if staff wants to pull up the site plan, we do have a lot coverage breakdown on the right-hand side of the page. I believe it might be the last slide of the supporting documents submitted. Right-hand side of the page, just under the key map, sort of top right corner, just under the key map. The total lot coverage is given there. And I do have a breakdown here. We have a portion of the front. There's a small portion of the front covered porch that's about 4 to 5 square meters. We have an area at the rear that is a covered porch of about 14 to 16 square meters, somewhere in that range. And then we have an uncovered porch that puts us over the area, and that's in the area of about 15 to 16 square meters. So a lot of the covered porches that combine are there included in the lot coverage, and then the dwelling itself is well under the allowed lot coverage, the dwelling footprint itself. And you can see if you zoom in a little bit on the bottom corner of the dwelling footprint, the lower left corner, you can see there's a large uncovered porch right there. And then there's 2 small covered porches as well. So those are the areas, and the main massing of the building itself is well under the 35% that's required.
Obviously, I couldn't see that.
Yeah, it's a bit through you, Mr. Chair. It's a bit hard to see some of these.
Hold on. I'm on the right page. Like, it doesn't tell me. I'm sorry. I asked you, what was the footprint? What percentage of the lot is that footprint of the house? What is the porches square foot or meters, and what is the percentages of the lot? I don't see that on the piece that I'm looking at. You're saying on the one that's in front of us there, that information is there?
On the one that, through you, Mr. Chair, sorry, on the one that's currently on the screen, it's zoomed in to the footprint. If staff would pan over to the right and then up, there's a chart breaking down the lot coverage. So the maximum allowed, the proposed that's there. Yes.
Yeah, but that's not answering my question.
Okay. I would have to.
Again, my question, what is the footprint of the house and garage, and what percentage of the lot is that?
You would have to give me just a minute to pull up another file.
Okay.
Just bear with me, please. So for the dwelling itself, we are at approximately 251 square meters. We have a total of 10 square meters of uncovered porch and a total of 14 square meters of covered porch, to answer your question. So that equates to roughly the 270-ish square meter, 279 square meters that we are in front of you today. Of course, I'm rounding and generalizing.
Okay. Okay. Still like to know the percentages, but so you're saying the uncovered porch. Are you saying that the uncovered porch is the 3.6% that exceeds the zoning bylaws lot coverage by 35? That is 35%?
There's a portion of the exceeding number is contributed to the uncovered porch, and then a portion of that exceeded number is attributed to the small covered porch as well.
Covered porch in the rear or the covered porch in the front?
That would be mostly the rear. The covered porch in the front is extremely small. The covered porch in the front really just is over top of the front entrance way. And it measures maybe, I'd say three square meters or so.
Okay. Let me back up. So you received a building permit. You built this house and it complied with the zoning bylaw. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Now you changed your plan. You built a basement under porch, an uncovered porch, and you expanded the size of your covered porch, and therefore you don't comply with the lot coverage of the building, of the zoning bylaw. Is that correct?
Yes, there were modifications made during construction. Yes.
Okay, let's go back. So you have an uncovered porch that has a basement, and because of that, you're over your lot coverage. What percentage of that uncovered porch is over? And what percent is that uncovered porch over your lot coverage? That's what I asked maybe 5 minutes.
Okay. Give me a second and I'll calculate the percentage for you. So I have an area that is about 1.9% for the uncovered section and about 1.5% for the covered section. That attributes to the 3.6% overage.
Okay, let's forget about the uncovered porch because it doesn't have anything above grade. So you increased the size of your rear porch that covered by whatever that resulted in a 1.5 overage of your lot coverage. Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, there was an expansion of the single-story covered porch section.
Okay, in the future, I'd like to look to see all the various components that make up a lot coverage situation. So I always like to see what those numbers are. And it's very frustrating to waste 5 minutes of my time and everybody else's time just to get a simple answer that should have been on your plans. Everybody else does that. Thank you.
I apologize. Our surveyor did not have that on there.
Thank you for answered Mr. Dickey's questions. Madam Secretary Treasurer, I believe we have a request from Mr. Detz to speak tonight.
Yes, one moment. He is here. I'll see if he would like to speak.
Good evening, sir. You can unmute yourself, turn your camera on, give us your name and address for the record.
Is it working?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can't see you, but that's okay. Oh, just muted again.
Unmute.
There you go. We can hear you now.
Okay, I don't know what's going on with.
Yeah, lots of people are having trouble tonight for some reason.
To start these meetings, live meetings, instead of having this video like this, it loses context, and I don't know, I guess part of the older theme here. Good evening, Madam Chairman, councilors. This is quite exasperating dealing with this building process. Let me go through here and read what I've got so I don't get off track. We are here because the builder of 318 Wooddale has exceeded the town of Oakville approved square footage of allowable building size for the lot. This is a family-oriented neighborhood. The houses built here are for single-family occupancy. Town of Oakville has a process for building a house. Drawings that are submitted and required for approval, building codes, progress inspections, grading inspections with required approvals all along the way. Somehow the builder has failed to follow this process. The build that we see now was not what was originally approved for this lot. This variance calls for approximately 200, sorry, I don't deal in metric, I'm converted that to feet. This variance is applying for a 280 square foot above the lots of what is allowable. 280 square feet, that's not a minor variance. That's the size of a single car garage. I'm having trouble with this part. If the builder had first set of approved plans that were provided with the sale of the property, then made modifications to build, I cannot see the original plans. I've applied for the Freedom of Information Act. I can't get the original plans. But to me, there were things that went on through this process when a surveyor came up. It happened twice that happened, that this builder was not following the building plans. When the surveyor came up, he was supposed to put in stakes for a retaining wall on this side. And so he asked to come on my property, and I said, sure, because it was all mud on the other side. So I said, sure. And then he was making comments, well, you know, this drawing doesn't look what it was here. I says, what do you mean? And he said, well, I'm showing the basement walkout is on the north side. I said, oh, well, I guess they mirrored it. I don't know. And he says, I'm showing 2 basement windows on the drawing. And he says, here, in actual fact, there's 3. So that started things off really weird. So to me, that means the builder's trying to do a bait and switch tactic to get the town of Oakville later on to approve the alterations and get a variance because he's already done, well, it's already here. Can we get it approved? In this case, if this is the case, what the builder's done, because and another person mentioned that when I talked to the town of Oakville and I was talking to them and they were looking at the drawings that they had back then. Now so back then, and he was saying, well, I'm showing the basement walkout on the north side, closest to Wildwood Avenue. And I'm saying, nah, that's not what's here. That's not what's been built. And that's when I think the new, I'm looking here. I think then the new designer got involved and they had to redraw the plans and submit them. So they've redrawn the plans to what's existing here now, but they're not approved yet. So if this is the case, this bait and switch, I would recommend the city not approve this variance to make the builder return the house to the originally approved plans for the lot. Whatever the changes to get the house back to the approved size for the lot would require approval prior to any work being done. And I would recommend a stronger adherence to inspection processes for this builder. The town of Oakville does not, there's so much building going on in this area. I've lived here for 30 years. And the amount of building going on, you can't go down some of the, like Wildwood last week, you could not drive down the street because it was plugged off. They're building 2 houses. They're putting in a pool on another house. You can't drive down the street. The town of Oakville does, and the community of Oakville does not need non-compliant builders who just do what they want and try to get a variance after. The building bylaw allows for 1.2 meters between the house and the property line. This does not leave enough clearance for the installation of the outside finishes like siding, soffit, eaves troughs. This led the builder to trespassing on our side of the property many times, even though we gave him written and verbal communication and instructions to stay off our property and do all his work on their property. He did not comply. If like I had to babysit, guard my property so this guy wouldn't come on our property. One example that really struck me, that was really, really hard, was when the framing contractor built this side wall to the house. They built it on the flat deck, and then they used a crane to lift it up. The sidewall was approximately 20 feet high by 40 feet long. When they were trying to crane it in place, it slipped off the footing shoring that they had and almost crashed down. It just missed my garage. And there was not enough room for the workers to guide it safely into place. And they were using a crane. So there was luckily that nobody got hurt. It could have fallen, collapsed my garage, damaged all kinds of things. This building so close to the lot line, I see problems with that all over the place as I walk around our area. We do not know if all the infractions or not signed off permits that are presently against the builder for this property, but I do know of one that impacts us. The elevation grading permit is definitely not in accordance with the town of Oakville. We've seen the bylaw inspector here when they're working on this house many times during the build. The inspector informed us that the property elevation and the ditch is not to code. The raised elevation is a problem for the neighbor on the north side as well. Whenever it rains, because the property elevation is higher, his backyard floods, and one storm we had last summer, his basement got flooded as well. The ditch, which is not to code, it's an eyesore. The bylaw inspector was always talking to him about the ditch, getting it fixed. He had his laborers play with it many times, and it still hasn't been corrected. But the builder complained about the ditch and what was going on. So the town came out and they altered my ditch, and they dug a little channel in there. Now it's a pain in the neck for me to cut my lawn. The fence that they've put up, so I had a chain link fence along here. They destroyed it. The fence that they built on their property now is being used as a retaining wall on my side and the back there. The fence is on 2 sides of the property. The ground surface at the back corner adjoining my property and theirs is 10 inches higher than their property elevation is 10 inches higher than mine. And at the front end of the fence here, it's about 6 inches higher. The swale that used to be when the property was 6 feet there between the house and my driveway. There was a swale there. Water, we have a ditch. We don't have culverts. We have a ditch. So the swale would take the water, it would generally go down to the ditch. He's altered that and he's tried to correct it. It hasn't worked out very well. Now, another thing is having the house a lot closer to the property line. The exhaust vent from their furnace, which is now for their house is a 3-inch pipe, blows a large volume of exhaust gas out to the side of the house towards our property. The exhaust gas pipe for our furnace exit the back of the house, and it's a 2-inch pipe. It doesn't affect anybody, whereas that pipe, it affects me. It affects me and my property. Rewarding non-compliant builders by allowing them to commit these infractions and get away with it, and just getting a variance in the post-build meetings here, like what we're doing here, this should be discouraged. And I see, like, I've seen many houses and they've still got problems with them. People are coming back, having to refix. Some contractors are coming back, having to refix things after the original builder is long gone. I understand the builders have to put up a bond to build a house. Well, from talking with numerous builders here, they don't care about the bond. If they lose the bond, they're not worried about it.
Hey, Mr. Detz, I've given you well more than your allotted 5 minutes. If I could ask you to conclude, you're now getting into matters that really have nothing to do with this committee.
Okay. In conclusion, most of the houses in our area do not infringe on adjoining neighbors. This house does not follow that good neighbor theme. We'll have privacy issues with the huge second-story windows overlooking our yards and the invasive security camera on the side overviewing my side of the property. We have ugly walls to look at. And for them just to clean their window, they're gonna have to come on my property. One major thing here, the minor variance report that I just received yesterday had a number of signatures on people that had no objection to this. I really question this. There are a number of signatures there. I don't know who. I've lived here for 30 years. I don't know who any of those signatures are. I don't recognize any of them. I talked to most of the members on Wooddale here and on Wildwood. Nobody recognizes any of those names. That they're not them either, but they don't recognize them. And the people that, as well, when I was talking to them, nobody had any good comments to say about this house. They said, why is that there? They didn't like it either. So out of this, there was in the, where is it?
Okay, Mr. Detz, I'm going to have to ask you to.
Okay, the drawing you got shows 27 houses, 27 properties, and I have 13 that say no to this. That's all I'm trying to say. Thank you for your time. I hope this will get resolved. I hope this house has been a real problem, not just for me, but for the other neighbors surrounding here. Thank you for your time.
I'll make a few comments. Mr. Van Koolen will obviously speak to them, but there is no side yard variance here, so the builder has built according to that. I believe Mr. Van Koolen said that the grading has not been resolved and it's in the process of being revised as well. I guess the inspections or your efforts did work in this case because the change has been identified and the builder has to go through permit revision process. It is unfortunate this happens from time to time at the committee where we have a situation where there's a variance being requested during or after the process, and the committee still has to apply the same 4 tests and look at it. Doesn't matter if it's built or not. If this was before the committee, before it was built, we have looked at it, and there have been cases where this committee has rejected variances on items that have been built and things have had to been changed. But it's part of the process. I understand it's frustrating for neighbors when things change midway, but I'm going to ask, before I ask Mr. Van Koolen to comment, I'm going to ask Secretary Treasurer whether anyone else has called in to speak to this matter.
Mr. Chair, we do have one other neighbor who wanted to speak at the meeting. I'm just going to promote him into the meeting. One moment.
I'm showing Dusan Dobry on the line, the neighbor.
Yes, this is Dusan Drobny, and I'm here at 306 Woodell Avenue. After talking especially with Mr. Betts, I fully agree with his comments. Um, I believe that obviously the builders in general should follow the original plans. We also understand that there might be some minor variances that happen with the building process. However, to Mr. Dett's comments, these variances shouldn't negatively impact the neighbors, and should follow the bylaws and the protocols that is defined for the building codex and industry standards. That's all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to check with the committee members whether they have any questions for either of the neighbors who have spoken.
No, I don't.
Doesn't sound like it. Mr. Van Koolen, would you care to respond to the comments you've heard?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I just want to address a couple of them. I don't want to go over comments that you made with regards to the grading and whatnot. We are not seeking a side yard variance application at all. We're only seeking the lot coverage variance, just to stress that. This is a work in progress. The final inspections, all the inspections, the final inspections are not passed as of yet, so it still is a work in progress. The engineering side of things in terms of the lot grading is a separate process altogether, and that as well is in process, and it still is being reviewed and signed off by our engineers and then submitted down to the town, and then that will be approved or require modifications. So that's of course still in progress as well. Overall, the plan itself that you have in front of you, yes, has been modified during construction to accommodate and to create a little bit more of a pleasing environment for the owner of the project. The owner of the project is building it for himself. And I just wanted to just reiterate that the proposed variances that we have in front of you are very sensitive to the area. The massing of the house is being mitigated by the front porch or the rear porch, my apologies, that is being introduced. And the portion that is below grade is not impacting anybody in any way, shape, or form. So I just wanted to reiterate those points again to you and the committee. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I'm going to close discussion. We'll move to looking for a motion. Committee members, you've heard frustration on the part of the neighbors with respect to the process. What is before the committee is not how we got here. It's a matter of variance for lot coverage, which, as we heard, is a result of both increase in the covered rear porch and the uncovered rear porch because the basement area was added under it. So with that, I will look for a motion on this matter.
Bryce? I sympathize with the neighbors and the problems that they've gone through, but at this meeting we have to deal with the variance, and I believe based on this town's report with respect to the massing and scale and surrounding neighborhood, I believe the variance is to be minor in nature, and therefore and the 4 steps have been met, and I therefore recommend that the owner's application be approved subject to the following conditions. that the dwelling be constructed in general accordance with submitted site plan drawings dated March 26, 2025, and the elevation drawings dated March 24th, 2025, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if the building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Price. Is there any discussion on that motion? I see none. All those in favor of the motion to approve?
I approve.
Okay, that is unanimous. Your application has been approved. And Mr. Van Koolen, hopefully your client can speak with the neighbors and try to smooth things over with respect to the process and the grading.
I will certainly recommend that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have a good evening, all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to application A 065-2025 at 57 Cox Drive. And we have Lindsay Bruce to speak to this matter. Good evening.
Okay.
Okay, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
It's been one of those technical nights. Oh, I think we've lost you again.
Oh.
Oh.
Hello?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Lindsay Bruce. I'm representing the owners of 57 Cox Drive with a minor variance this evening. Just to give a little background, we were at committee back in March of 2025 with a very similar application. I will talk about the differences, but we were denied at that hearing. So this is a brand new application in front of you, not coming in as a deferral, but the application is very similar. So we are seeking 4 variances. If we could go to the next slide in the presentation. So the existing context is a 1-story dwelling with an attached garage. And yeah, and then the next slide, please. So we're proposing a 2-story dwelling with an attached garage as well. There's a rear patio, cabana, and a pool as well in the back. Next slide, please. So this is just an image of the overlay showing the existing dwelling with the new dwelling on the site. Next slide, please. So the first variance we're requesting is the same as the previous application for a window well encroachment into the required front yard. This is a window well kind of between the garage and the front porch. There's a basement window there, and the window well is wider than 1.8, and we are proposing to encroach into the front yard. Next slide. Very similar, we've got a window well in the side yard. So this is at the front south front corner of the home, and the window well encroaches into the required side yard. Next slide. So this just shows those 2 window wells in plan view, so you can see where they're located and how far we are still set back. So that side yard is a 4.2, and we are encroaching minimally into that side yard. Next slide, please. This is requested variance number 3. So this again hasn't changed from the original application. We are requesting relief from the side yard. On the north side, the required setback is 4.2, which we are providing for the 2-story portion of the dwelling. But the front corner, as you can see on the lower left diagram, is a 1-story garage. And we are requesting relief to encroach to 3.61 for that setback. Next slide, please. So this is where the application is a little bit different than the last time. The last time we were in front of committee, we were asking for a front yard setback of 14.87. I believe it was 14.88 actually. And we worked with the neighbor to the north, number 65, Cox Drive, as they had come to the committee with an objection. We worked with them and came to an agreement on moving the house back 1 additional meter. The reason we're asking for relief in the front yard is because the way that the lot is situated, the house is pushed back really far. We are on the end of the street, so there's a cul-de-sac, and the final house next to this property faces right onto Lake Ontario. And so in order to be able to have a usable backyard, again, with the pool, and we also want to maintain the trees along the back of the property to help mitigate any privacy issues with the neighbor in behind. That house in behind faces Lakeshore, so that's kind of their front/side yard that is adjacent to these trees. So we wanted to maintain these trees. They're big, healthy, mature trees. So in order to provide the amenity space in the rear yard, that's why we've pushed the dwelling up slightly. And again, you can see here where the existing dwelling is located. The other thing that contributes to this corner being closer is that the lot line is on an angle. So when you get to this side of the house, we're actually meeting the front yard setback. It's just this front corner where the lot line comes back. And the house is straight, obviously. Next slide, please. So again, there was neighborhood consultation done back in February before the first hearing. The only objection we had was again from the neighbor right to the north. We have subsequently come to an agreement with that neighbor, and they're no longer in opposition of the application. And there were no other opposition received from the canvassed neighbors. Next slide. The town staff planning report does support the application. And we will also note that we are currently in review with the grading plan and arborist report to make sure all of those items. We have initial feedback from them and everything's looking positive. Yeah, so I'm available for any questions if anyone has any questions for me.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bruce. Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm always concerned about setback. Here you have a 100-foot wide property. Why can't you comply with the side yard setback?
Because we're under the, sorry, can I answer right away or do I have to wait?
No, please go ahead.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, the dwelling depth, we've maintained the allowable dwelling depth while also maintaining the lot coverage and GFA allowable. We're under all of those, all of those items, and that has, in order to, obviously they want to maximize. We're in a really affluent neighborhood. We have resale value to think about. The owner is moving into this home, but it's always something that is considered when doing a new build. And then in order to work with the architecture, that 1-story garage is kind of projecting out the side just to add some character and some changing of the massing on the front so that it's not one big 2-story box. And so that slight projection on the side of the garage is what's leading to that encroachment into the side yard. And again, the neighbor has no issues with that side yard, and it's adequate for providing great drainage, swales, and anything else that we need up on that side yard.
Well, why couldn't you do the same thing but have the house front elevation of the house narrower, still comply with the side yard setback on the north side? You just make your garage narrow. You make another part of the house narrower, then comply.
Yes, I suppose we could, but we have, committee of adjustment for these minor requests over the zoning bylaw. And the internal dimensions of the garage are fitting two zoning parking spaces. So that width of the garage is required to fit those 2 parking spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Price, any questions?
No.
Madam Secretary Treasurer, has anyone called in to speak to this application?
We haven't had any calls, and there's no hands showing.
Okay, thank you. I'll just say, Ms. Bruce, it's always appreciative when the applicant takes the time to work things out with the neighborhood before coming. As you stated, there was significant objection from the neighbor to the north last time, and obviously you've worked out their concerns. So I'm going to close discussion on this matter, and I'll be looking for a motion.
I'll put forward the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Price.
Okay. Just like you said, I also appreciate the fact that you worked with the neighbors next door to settle the issues they had. It makes it a lot easier at the end of the day. With respect to this, I think that the agent's presentation, my site visit, and this staff's report, I believe that the 4 tests have been met, and therefore the variance can be considered minor in nature. I recommend the owner's application be approved subject to the following conditions. The dwelling be constructed in general accordance with submitted site plan dated 2025-03-25 and elevation drawings dated 2025-01-23, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Mr. Dickey, any discussion on that motion?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The motion on the floor is to approve subject to the 2 conditions. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Okay, that is unanimous. Your application has been approved.
Thank you for your time, committee.
Thank you. We'll move on to application A11-2025, which was deferred from February 5th at 181 Front Street. Anyone wishing to speak to this application? There may be a few from our list. Please call 905-815-6095. Good evening, Mr. Hicks.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. William Hicks with William Hicks Holdings, Inc. If you can promote the PowerPoint presentation for me. And I will try and go through this within my allotted time. I know there's certainly lots of public position to be presented here. So this meeting was deferred in our past meeting as I wasn't comfortable in being able to answer some of the questions that the residents had with respect to grading. And I knew the committee may have some questions with respect to that. And I think some of the residents said that perhaps the drawings weren't accurate. So I took the time to make sure that we did do that. And we had met with, in the first application, we had circulated some information as we typically do to ask them if there was any concerns. And we did hear from Mr. Perot, who will speak tonight. And I did speak to the members of the Lakeside Residents Association, Anita Mackay. So obviously there's still an objection to this. I don't think we're able to ever resolve all of their objections, but as a matter of background, 181 Front Street, it falls within the Heritage District, obviously. The house itself is not deemed to be a contributing element in the district, so it can be removed and replaced. The site requires a full heritage permit and is noted as a condition of approval for this application, and we have no objection to that. In going through this process, we met with Heritage on a number of occasions, on 2 specific occasions, and had a number of discussions with the staff as we presented our initial thoughts. And we made 2 or 3 revisions in the plan. We did present to a smaller group of committee members at one point in time from the Heritage Committee, who made some suggestions which we tried to implement within our thing. And we also were aware that there was some new heritage guidelines that were being developed, and we tried to work with Carolyn in the Heritage Department to make sure that we were going to comply with those. So we did go through a pre-consultation process. No real concerns were raised. We retained a landscape architect to detail some of the designed and how we are going to deal with retaining walls and grade changes on the property since that seemed to be of concern. Those packages or those drawings did form part of our submission. So if I can go to the third slide. So tonight we're here to seek two variances. The first one is for coverage. We're seeking coverage of 29.72, whereas the bylaw permits 25%. The existing house is in fact 26.52%. Perhaps a question that may come from one of the committee members is that the two porches at the front and the back, which we've added, amount to 3.95 or 4% of the 4 point slightly more than that percentage that we're over. So the house, in fact, essentially meets the coverage requirement. So when we add these porches, it's something that we do because we feel they're desirable and they're useful to help reduce scale and mass, and they certainly are compatible with the character of the heritage neighborhood. So, and as I've said to this committee before, coverage is not something that is really easily perceived by someone on the street or someone in the backyard or someone in the side yard, because you can't see the whole house. You can perceive it when you fly over it, but we feel this is a very minor variance with respect to it because it does not exceed the existing house. And just for reference, the green is, or the yellow, sorry, is the existing house that's in here. The green is the proposed new house, sorry, the blue and green, and there's a small covered porch right where that car is shown sitting there because there was an existing garage in the back. So the second variance we're asking for is maximum floor area, and we're seeking approval of 42%, whereas the bylaw permits 30%. The existing house is at 37%. The clients approached me because they want to stay in that house. They've moved to another house in the interim so that they can proceed with the construction of this house. But it's their plan to move back here. They have a growing family, and in our application, we're suggesting that the increased floor area of about 300 square feet is minimal. We're not seeking to build a monster house here. It's a house of 237 square meters, so 2,500 square feet. We think that's certainly compatible with the neighborhood. In our efforts to deal with the increased coverage and the increased floor area, we've done a number of things. We have pushed the house further back on the property so that it's more in alignment with the property to the side of it, which was a new house that was built a couple of years ago. We have removed the garage, which had a 0-yard setback at the back, which is a freestanding garage. The garage now forms part of the house in this area. It's a single-car garage still. We exceed the required side yards by about 2 extra feet because in our efforts to work with planning and with the Heritage Committee, we reduced the square footage as much as we possibly could while still meeting the requirements of the residents. Our house is more than 1.5 meters below the allowable height. The second floor actually ends much less than it ends at about this location. So we're cognizant of the fact where the second floor sits on the house adjacent to it. And so we think that, and the front and rear yard setbacks are substantially more than what's required. So we believe that the variances meet the tests under the livable Oakville plan. You'll hear from the residents that they certainly don't believe that, but we believe that it meets the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. Planning and Heritage both agree with that. I concur with the reports that have been written, and we've spent a great deal of time coming to this solution. Does the House represent it as a solution that is desirable and appropriate? I believe so. Planning believes it does, and Heritage staff believe it does. They're prepared to suggest that it is appropriate, knowing that we still have to go to Heritage for their approval, and some of the concerns that are being raised, perhaps by some of the residents, are something that is dealt with in the Heritage application, which is a separate application, but we moved it forward enough that we felt, and Heritage felt, that we should go and seek the variances first, and then it'll come back before the Heritage staff. So I think it's a good example. If I just flip to the next couple of pages, I'm not going to spend any time because I know that's the landscape plan. Some of the residents had raised concerns about the grading. I know there's been a reference to this being a gully in the new district plan. it's not something that the heritage staff have mentioned as not complying to that. I don't really understand how it's considered a gully. There is a slope at the front of the property that's shown on the front rendering, but we've tried, if you go to the next slide, or the one after that, we've done some renderings of what the house will look like from the back. We think it's quite sympathetic to the character of the neighborhood. It doesn't try to mimic or copy a heritage piece, but it uses elements that are certainly consistent with it. One of the heritage guidelines that we weren't aware of that apparently was fairly new is you're not allowed any metal roofs. So that's a simple change we'll make with heritage. And they had a couple of other minor questions, all of which I think are easy to resolve with heritage. But I won't speak to all the neighbors' concerns. I have gone through in detail all of theirs. I'll let them speak. I mean, I think their concerns will come down to views. They don't feel it meets the requirements of the district plan, which certainly planning does feel that. I think the grading is misleading. We've dealt with these for hundreds of applications. The grading is designed properly. But I will let the residents, and certainly open myself to questions from the committee first before the residents, or after the residents speak. I'll leave that up to you. Thank you for the time to make the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Hicks?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Price.
Okay. In terms of height, where are you measuring from? Are you measuring from the top or the bottom to get the height of the house?
We measure the height from the bylaw requirement, which is taken at the center point of the front lot line. So it's in the slope. It's not at the bottom part of the slope, but we've changed the grades there. But that is measured based upon the bylaw requirement. So
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Mr. Dickey.
Thank you. I just want to understand maybe the status of the approval process from the heritage point of view. The heritage committee has approved this, or it's still pending?
No, I can explain that. So there's a process in working through heritage where when an application's before them, if it requires any variances, they provide us some comments. We work with the heritage staff, and then they say, please go get your variances, and then we'll process your formal application after that. They do not want to process a heritage application without knowing that the variance is going to be approved first. So Kate may be able to comment on that if you have a further question, but that's the process that's been recommended on most of our applications. So it has not gone through a formal approval at the Heritage Committee. That would happen after this, and that's why the conditions are written such that this approval would be based upon what Heritage approves ultimately. So they may make some final tweaks like the roof line and some of the other things, but we would only obtain approval for these variances as long as we meet the heritage requirements of the approval process.
Okay. Another question.
Yes.
I'm taking the residential floor area, 237.6 square meters, dividing by the residential square area of 30%, according to the zoning bylaw, which is 170.59 square meters. I'm doing the math, and I'm coming up with your house is 39.3% larger than what the zoning bylaw would allow. 39%, pretty big number. How many?
Well, the permitted size is 142 square meters. Or sorry, that's the coverage. But yeah, we are exceeding the number by 27.7 meters. So we're roughly 310 square feet bigger than what's permitted. And compared to, sorry, those are the calculations. They are accurately done, but that's the difference in size. So
it's 39% bigger. Do you disagree with that math?
39% bigger than the allowable 30%?
No, 39. Your proposed house is 39% bigger than what the zoning bylaw would.
That's right. If I took 30% and took 40% of that, it would be 42%, which is what we're requesting.
Yeah, you did that.
That's so
Okay.
that does conform to your calculations. It's slightly under 40%. So
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Mr. Hicks, just following in that line of questioning, you're 310 square feet larger than the bylaw permits, but the existing house is also larger than the bylaw permits. Is that
yeah,
correct?
the existing house is at 37%. So we're 5% bigger than the existing house, and that's really so that they can stay in the house and add another bedroom.
Thank you. Mr. Hicks, we've got 12 letters of objection, both near and far. But when I looked at the addresses, I didn't see an objection from or support from the immediate neighbors on either side or directly behind. Have you had discussions with those people?
We have two letters of approval. They're not the immediate neighbors. The immediate neighbor, which is the new house to the east side, call it, is aware of the application, has no objections to it. I have not spoken to the members to the west side, but they have not stated any objections. It was actually a house I designed for the previous owner of that property, but we have not heard from them. We did have a previous letter of approval from another application, which is directly across the street, and we thought that that would still be applicable since the variances didn't change, but we weren't allowed to use that letter any further. So, and then there was two other letters previously that, again, we thought we'd be able to use, but the person behind Mr. Perot, I believe, is definitely opposed to it, and I have had a conversation with him. The owner has had a conversation with him, and there is no meeting of the minds on that conversation. His concerns seem to be purely that we're blocking his view of the lake. So, and blocking of a view is something I've never heard of in terms of a requirement under the bylaw. So, but
Okay, I believe we're going to hear from him.
we will. So, yeah.
And just if I can ask a question of staff, many of the objections imply that this does not follow the new Heritage District guidelines. Is it safe to assume that with staff support for this application, staff believe that this application does follow those, or that if it's not fully compliant, it will be resolved through the heritage permit?
Through you, Mr. Chair, you're correct. As Mr. Hicks had indicated, the applicant had gone through, call it a pre-consultation process with heritage staff, which included a couple members of the committee. And at the original submission of the application, it was looked at with the pending new district plan. It had not yet been in effect when we had prepared the first set of comments on this application. So it's been noted in the current report that now the district plan is in fact in effect. And we have been consistent with our comments since Mr. Hicks had come forward with the proposal for his client, knowing that the district plan would likely come into effect. So it's our position, as stated in the report, that the proposal is in line with the new district plan. When it comes to the heritage permit process, as Mr. Hicks indicated, there may be some minor adjustments to the plan, as this committee has seen before, maybe material components, it might be details with windows or roof lines, things like that. And we ensure that through the condition that's been proposed for the committee, that the plans are approved in accordance with that permit. So we're not putting the applicant in a position of undue hardship to come back to the committee if there are some slight modifications. And this is pretty common for staff to provide this type of recommendation with that type of condition. So from our perspective, as provided in the staff report, I believe it's quite clear that the proposal is in line with the new district plan, according to staff.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I just add one thing? I thank the staff for working with us. They did make us aware of these new conditions that were coming forward. And in fact, it's one of the reasons we reduced the height of the house, because at one point in time, the 10.5 meters was going to be reduced to 9 meters, even though the bylaw allowed higher than that. So we just said, we're going to work with what we believe is going to be in that guideline. It appears that that didn't even end up being in the guideline, but it was a very collaborative effort with the staff and with planning. So I thank them for that. So
Thank you. Madam Secretary Treasurer, do we have anyone interested in speaking to this application?
Yes, we have 2 speakers. I'm going to move the first one in. One moment, please.
Good evening, Mr. Perot. You could unmute yourself.
Okay. And trying to get the camera going here. How do I do that?
You won't be the first tonight to have.
I know. I'm watching this. You've been. I can see Mr. Hicks there. The host asked you to start your video. Okay. There we go. So does everybody see me?
Yep, we see.
Okay, great. So thank you very much. Good evening, committee members. My name is Richard Barat, and as Mr. Hicks stated, I wanted to put my face to the letter of opposition. I live at 184 King Street, which is located directly behind the proposed development at 181 Front Street. For the record, Mr. Hicks said that we had conversations. He had dropped something in my mailbox, and I had reached out to him, and he responded that he wasn't available for a week, and I never did hear anything back. So we've never had any conversations, and nor have I had any conversations with the applicant. I did suggest that. So I know that you received many applications as well as the town staff. Consequently, it's very difficult to really get a true perspective of each, especially if you've not been afforded the opportunity to visit the properties. This is especially true in unique situations. What makes this unique? The lot located at 181 Front Street, and for 2 reasons. It's very small and where it's located. Members, why is this important? Mainly because of the location, setting, and proximity to other truly unique homes. And not always just grandiose mansion-style homes that are often known in areas of Oakville. The homes in this area are unique and special, as is the neighborhood. They were built during a time that was not based on modern-day thinking. As a result, I'd suggest that it is impossible to apply today's thinking to variances requested in this area. A home like mine built 100 years ago, or in the case of my neighbors, 186 years ago, were done with some very important considerations. A very important consideration was taking light into account. A home built in 1891 that I'd previously restored was not only built because of the lot and its location, it was also positioned on the lot and in a particular way. It was positioned on an angle due to the light. The windows were also positioned in a certain way to take advantage of that same light. The bedrooms in that home were also positioned and planned out to take advantage of, you guessed it, the light and natural breezes. All of these attributes are not unlike homes in Old Oakville. Considerations were taken for the location and proximity to things in the area. The lake and light clearly being an important element of that. Equally important 100 years ago, as is today, are considerations to neighboring properties. Why are these important for the committee members' task at hand tonight? Because the variances being requested impact the homes that were specifically located, built, and designed for specific reasons. For reasons that applied well over 100 years ago and remain today. The proposed development does not take any of that into consideration. I'd suggest it is even inconsiderate of the neighborhood its residents and neighbors, especially next door neighbors. The variances requested will contribute to a structure being built that is far too large for the lot and its location, one that will impact neighbors and neighboring properties that have been located here for years, and in some cases, 186 years. That's incredible. The development also proposes to reverse decisions made and credos upheld in 1999. At that time, the original home on this location was unceremoniously torn down and without permission. When this happened, it was enforced to rebuild the home to the original specifications. That was an ideology respecting homes that were carefully planned and built by founding residents of the community, homes that have been cherished for generations. Reversing the decision from 1999 is ultimately in the face of the people who fought to uphold them. People no different than yourselves who are now entrusted with a similar task this evening. Personally, I do not oppose development or redevelopment in the area. However, this project on this particular lot at 181 Front Street, I am. It will result in an irreparable negative effect, not only on the neighborhood, but also for the town of Oakville. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I really do appreciate your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any questions for the deputant? I see none. Madam Secretary Treasurer, you said there was another individual wishing to speak?
Yes, one other person, Duncan Galloway. One moment, I'll move him in.
Good evening, Mr. Galloway.
Yeah, good evening. Just waiting to see if I can see myself. Here we go.
Okay, we can see you. We can get your address, please.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a resident in Old Oakville. I personally live on 275 King Street. But I'm speaking on behalf of the Oakville Lakeside Residents Association regarding the application of 181 Front. Our position is that this application should not proceed in its present form. There are three primary reasons why it should not be allowed. Reason one, we've titled Death by Creeping Adjustment. The lot already has special provision zoning in place, a maximum lot cover of 30% and residential floor area of 25%. The current property was granted variance to increase that to 37% and 25.5% respectively. Now, a further variance is requested. It'll be a massive 40% increase in lot coverage to 42% over the allowed zoning of 30%, and an 18% increase in residential floor area of 30% compared to the 25% allowed. So we suggest the committee should avoid death by creeping adjustments, ignore the incremental variance requests, but compare the variance to the zoning allowed for the property. And when you do that, it's clear these variances are not minor in nature. 40% increases are not minor, and they fail the test for a minor variance that can be considered. Reason two is titled Reshaping the Landscape. The plans for the house are based on a height of 30 feet, we understand, from the established grade of the existing property. But unlike the existing house, the plans here ignore the slope of the hill and extend the entire building eastwards to the lot line. This results in a property with an established grade that can only be supported by a massive retaining wall at the east end. In other words, the plans ignore the contours of the landscape, and they propose a house or a tower over Front Street by a lot more than 30 feet. The plans don't show the height from actual street level, so we have to estimate it. We think it's up to 50 or 60 feet from the Front Street at certain points. So the variance request fails the test of minor in regard to its impact on surrounding land, in this case, the gully. Reason 3, we titled Destroying Oakville's Heritage. We submit the proposed plan has a negative impact on the heritage area of Old Oakville, and a negative impact on the heritage nature of Front Street in particular. I'll quote from the bylaw approved March 2025, the Heritage Conservation District Plan. 181 Front Street is in the Character Area 3, Gully Landscape. Section 523 contains guidance for this area, and I quote, protect and conserve both vertical north to south slopes and horizontal east to west slopes, gully plains within the landscape through the adjustment of height and massing of new built form that responds appropriately to the grading. We submit the proposal does not respond appropriately for the grading by adjusting height or the massing of the new built form. Section 5.5 of the new build guidance then states, I quote again, the scale and massing of new primary structures shall be physically and visually compatible with the impacted character area and district. We submit proposed plans show a large modern house of pretty great visual mass and excessive height viewed from Front Street. It's out of scale with surrounding heritage properties. I quote again, design new primary structures so that any significant landscape features of the existing property are maintained, including mature trees and site topography. Use creative design solutions to seamlessly integrate new development into the existing setting. And we submit. This structure ignores the topography of the landscape, has made no attempt to find a creative solution to integrate it into the setting on Front Street. I quote again, protect and maintain the historic low-rise scale of the district, and we submit. The plans do not support the historic low-rise scale of the district. In fact, they're significantly out of scale. And final quotes, new primary structures shall be compatible, complementary to surrounding properties. And Front Street has a higher public profile in the heritage area, as is an integral part of the pedestrian walkway. The built form along Front Street has a significant relationship with the adjacent public open space and parks. It continues, Front Street is an important streetscape that has relations with the historic European settlement of Oakville and their evolving use as public open space and parks. Key heritage properties include 143, 212, 176, and 235 Front Street. We submit. The proposed plans are not in keeping in terms of size, height, elevation, and massing with these heritage properties and do not conform to the heritage bylaw. And another quote. It says, new detached garages are strongly preferred in the district. The existing property has a detached coach house garage, which enables the property to align with the gully topography. It's an example of sensitive design planning that we believe should be followed here. In conclusion, variance requests for 40% increase in lot coverage and 18% increase in residential floor area are not minor in nature, should not be allowed. The plan ignores the gully landscape contours, proposes a house that will tower over Front Street by a lot more than 30 feet, as a major, not minor impact on the streetscape. The requested variance and plans have a major, not minor impact on the critical heritage area of Old Oakville, as I have detailed above. I would also add that the approval of variances like this is actually feels like a slap in the face to the many residents of Old Oakville who have renovated and built properties while respecting the existing zoning and heritage guidelines. And it tends to bring into question whether they should bother complying in future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions? Yeah, Mr. Galloway, if I could ask one, in the staff report, they've included a streetscape plan. And when I look at the streetscape plan, I see this house fitting the character of the street and being even far more so than the new house immediately to the east of it. And your submissions indicate that it's out of character and will tower over the street. And I'm struggling a little with that conclusion based on the drawing that I'm looking at. Maybe you can help with that.
Yes. First of all, we believe the drawing is a little misleading. I would encourage anybody who's concerned about this to actually go walk on Front Street and look at the topography. Actually, some photographs are better than drawings because we don't recognize how that drawing actually compares to the reality on Front Street. The second point I would add is the house to the east we regard as a really regretful mistake, which is completely out of character with any other property, and in fact, any other property in the whole Old Oakville area. And unfortunately, that design got through and it got allowed. I do not think that should be a precedent in any way for other developments in the area.
Okay, thank you. And all the committee members have visited this location before this meeting, so you're aware.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, is anyone else wishing to speak to this application?
No, Mr. Chair, we haven't had any more calls or hands. I would make one request, if you could, before finishing up, to read off the names on our information for tonight for the people who have written in. Thank you.
Afraid you're going to make me do that. Just before I do that, sorry, Mr. Pro, you've had your time. I can't go back to you again. So we have 12 letters of objection: Jane Hockred, Anita McKay, Henry and Kathy Jelinek, Julie Thompson, Nancy McGuinn, Richard Perrott, Larry and Caroline Switzer, Lita Lindsay, Patricia McTavish, Hazel Cole, Joyny and Kopanen, and Pat Geary. 2 letters of support from Katie and Dustin Brown and Katie Gilgan. Okay, Mr. Hicks, we'll give you an opportunity to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very short. I don't know if it's possible to put up even just that front rendering or whether you don't want to see any other of that, but I'll respond to Mr. Galloway's comments first. If we can go to the first page, which was the front rendering, which most of the comments are being made about. So to speak to the streetscape, which you had raised, and I thank you for that. This house is actually one of the lowest houses in that block of the street with the 3 houses. They do step down once you get further east, but it is definitely less height than the house that's to the east of it. And one thing that was made clear to me by Heritage when I had my first discussion was that the house to the east was probably one of the most controversial houses that's ever been built in the area. And make sure you don't ask for something like that. So that's why we've tried to make our house be more compatible. Some of the things that we've done are dropping the roof lines on the east side of it, so it does reflect the fact that it's sloping down. We used to have 2 full gables there. But I think that is the comments with respect to the landscape and the height of the house being 50 to 60 feet. Well, we work off computer generated models, so the numbers I've given you are accurate based upon the bylaws and based upon the actual situation on the street. So there's no intent to present something that's inaccurate. So the impact on Front Street itself, I mean, I heard a lot talking about the gully and that it doesn't comply and it doesn't meet the character of the neighborhood, but I'm hearing the exact opposite from the Heritage Committee and from planning. And I did have a discussion with Anita McKay from the Ratepayers Association. I had that very early in the process. I think even in her note, she says we've made some improvements in it. It's still not going to meet her requirements, but we do meet the new design guidelines, and that's what we're relying on meeting. I think they were written for the sole fact of trying to provide more guidance for applicants like myself when they're submitting something to it, whereas the old heritage evaluation guidelines were rather abstract, so it's very difficult to deal with a lot of them. So the final comment with respect to Mr. Perot, and I'm sorry if that's not pronounced properly. I did read his letter in detail, and he seems to have more concern with light and view. And I can assure you, I've done many, many, many hundreds of shadow diagrams and light diagrams, and there is no overshadowing. There is no issue with respect to privacy. Absolutely no impact of this house, even in one of his own renderings that he submitted in his package. It shows a yellow sketched in impact of the house as if it's placed right in front of us. But the only change that I can see in the view from that is over the top of the house slightly and towards two pine trees. So I don't consider there to be a major impact on the view at all from that street, nor from people that are walking on the street. But with that, I appreciate the comments. I knew that this is a very difficult area, let's put it that way, to work within. I've just moved into it myself, but I'm not a resident of it at this point in time, but building on the edge of it. So I'm certainly concerned, and I certainly support everything. But I think this house is a good example of what can be done. They don't want us to imitate or copy old heritage houses. This is certainly not a modern house. It certainly uses materials that are appropriate to the neighborhood, unlike the house to the right of it. But with that, I will, there's a hockey game on, you probably all want to go home. So. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. So.
Thank you. Well, we've got 3 more applications after this one still.
I know. I don't think you want to know the score anyway, so.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close the discussion at this point. Committee members, you've heard many different views. Obviously, not all of them aligned, and perhaps not even alignment between the Residents Association and the Heritage Committee. But with that, I will be looking for a motion on this matter. Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based upon my review of the owner's application, site plan, building elevation, my site visit, presentation by the owner's consultant, the planning staff's report, having regard to the comments by the neighbors and the letters by the neighbors. My opinion that the variants are not minor in nature. I feel that this is an overbuilding of that site. That from my calculations, the proposed house is 40% larger than what the zoning law permits. And I agree with the neighbors that this house is not desirable or appropriate for this. Therefore, I put forth a motion that the application as applied for be denied.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dickey. Ms. Price, do you have any comment on the motion?
It's a very difficult decision. I would say I deny it as well, based on the comments from the neighbors and the design of the house and the area it's going to be in.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Price. I'm going to take a contrary position to that. Variances are not a mathematical number. It's about impact. I think they've designed a very sensitive house in this particular location. The objections that I was hearing were not directly related to impacts caused by the variances. That obviously that opinion is shared by staff and the Heritage Committee, but perhaps not by this committee. So with that, the motion on the floor is to deny the application. All those in favor? Mr. Dickey?
Yes.
Ms. Price, I will oppose that motion. But having said that, the motion passes 2-1. I'm sorry, Mr. Hicks, your application has been denied.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, everybody, for your time and submissions.
Have a good evening.
We have 38 minutes to get through the next 3 applications. Moving now to A018-2025 at 190 Don Essel Drive. This was deferred from February. If anyone wishes to speak to this application, please call in at 905-815-6095. Good evening, Ms. Gava.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Sandra Gava. I'm the architect and agent on the file. Thank you for pulling up the presentation. If we could go to the next slide, please, to start. Just a quick overview. We've come a long way from our initial pre-consultation. Firstly, addressing the concerns relating to reducing the building features that didn't align with urban design guidelines and issues related to orientation and drainage. After our first deferral, we made reductions to the building depth and FSI to alleviate concerns about the overall scale of the building. And then lastly, after our second deferral, we made the decision to eliminate the height variance that alleviated the outstanding concerns from planning staff about the overall scale of the proposal. If we could please go to the next slide. So I'll speak now to the 2 variances that we are asking for, the first variance being the building depth. So our building depth variance is in relation to a 1-story covered outdoor room. The majority of the mass of the home is at 16.68 meters. And if you take a look at that red outline, given that we're allowed a 1-story extension, the variance that we're asking for is in that red hatched area, and that represents 10 square meters of floor space that we're not allowed to have. Can we please go to the next slide? So this is just to illustrate the existing screening that's on the property on the west side, which is a very dense hedge, and that's about 10 feet high, and it goes, from the existing garage all the way to the very back of the property. Next slide, please. So in context, our covered outdoor room is just over 10 feet. We believe it would be fully screened by this hedge, and it wouldn't have any meaningful impact to the neighbor to the west. And can we please go to the next slide? So in terms of FSI, we're asking for a 1.58% increase. At a macro level, we're in line, if not lower, than many of the recent approvals in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. And qualitatively, we don't believe the FSI is contributing to the overall appearance of a larger building on the lot. We believe that our design is in line with the character and massing objectives of the urban design policies. Lots of varied roof lines, architectural features at the 1-story level. We are set back 7 meters from one side due to a side entrance garage. So we believe that's a really nice feature, not being able to see the garage doors. It contributes to an overall narrower home. Even though we're not asking for a height increase, we're at 9 meters. Our established grade is quite low on the street. So in terms of the height in relation to adjacent grade, the overall building height is about 8 meters. So overall, setbacks, height, depth, we don't think any of those perceivable, tangible things are contributing to an increase in perceivable FSI. And we believe that the project meets the 4 tests of the bylaw. Thank you, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
No.
Okay, I see none. Madam Secretary Treasurer, has anyone called in on this matter?
We've had no calls.
All right, then I will close the discussion and volunteer Ms. Price to make a motion.
Taking into consideration my site visit, the owner's report, the agent's presentation, and the staff report, I think, and the fact that there were no objections, I believe that the 4 tests have been met and therefore the variance can be considered minor in nature. I recommend the owner's application be approved subject to the following conditions. That the dwelling be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan drawing dated February 18th, 2025, and the elevation drawings dated April 3rd, 2025, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if the building permit has not been issued and for the proposed construction.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that motion to approve? Seeing none, all those in favor?
I approve.
That is unanimous. Your application has been approved.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Application A 166 2024 and deferred from November, 150 Richmond Road. Anyone wishes to speak to this application, please call in 905-815-6095. Okay. The applicant's entered. Unmute yourself. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, committee members. It's getting late, so I'm going to be short, so you can everybody can go home. My name is Eduard Begay, and I'm the applicant for representing the owners of 150 Richmond Road. We're requesting a minor variance for the interior side yard for the garage, for an existing carport. And instead of the carport, we want to build the owners want to build the garage. Now, to get with the zoning for the garage, to be able to fit the car, we have to go 0.6 from the side, and keeping everything as it is on the level of the grading. Last time that we applied for committee of adjustment, even though we sent the grading to the staff, they were not able to provide it. So we were brought to this meeting, and I can see that they have still concerns about the site grading. I did submit the site grading 2 days ago or a day ago. I don't remember exactly. And I would like if the staff can provide the revised site grading.
So, sir, the staff in their report indicated that they can't support the application because you need to do more work with your grading.
So I did, Your Honor, I did revise the site plan and the section cut. There were 2 things that they were requiring, and the site grading had the only thing that the site grading was that the point A was point B and point B was point A. So they were switched on the drawings while the elevations were right. So that's the only thing that I changed, I revised, and I sent it to the planning.
It sounds also like they've not had a chance to review that at this point in time.
Sharon promised me that she's gonna show those to the committee members, those changes. Because as I said, so there were not too many changes, only the switch of the points. The front of the garage was supposed to be the end of the garage. So that was the only thing on the side grading.
But this committee does not review and approve grading. This committee is with the variances, and we have a staff report in front of us that says you haven't provided the required information in order for them to be able to support the application, so that they can't support it.
Mr. Chair, I did provide it to the staff, the required that they wanted. They disagree, as I said, so on the side grading, it's a switch of 2 points. That's the only thing that they are saying there. Everything it's in the side grading. First of all, I don't know why they asked, but because everything is going to remain as it is right now, so we're not going to change anything. And if you can see the house, it's already both the houses are they are separating each other by the same distance. So, and there is no too much flowing of water coming of the direction, because the other owner of the other house, he also planted a lot of small trees there. So I don't think my client it's prohibiting any water coming through, and it's not coming too much. So because right now the carport is covered, so only the water of the front of the carport, it's gonna stay as it is. So we're not asking for any change on the driveway. Driveway is gonna stay the same. Just we're removing the existing carport that is covered and building a garage with a flat roof on the same position. And we're not doing anything on the rear or anything that we can change the direction or flowing of the rainwater. So with all due respect, I don't understand why the staff recommended not to approve that.
From the report that we have, staff have indicated that your grading drawings are incorrect, and that some of your drawings are showing an encroachment on adjacent property, which isn't allowed. And
that's why, sorry, I know it's late. That's why I revised those two drawings and I sent to Sharon, so she can share today. And I can ask if she is present, if she can share those two drawings that I sent after I read the report. And those.
Yeah, I understand you sent them in, but as I said, this committee does not review those drawings. Those have to go back to town staff to review and be satisfied. It can't be dealt with during the meeting itself. So we don't have information today that would allow us to approve this application. I'm going to give you the opportunity to seek another deferral, or you can proceed, but in likelihood, you could be looking at an outright denial. But that is your choice.
I don't know what to say, sir. So the staff is saying that it's somewhere at some point in one of my drawings, it's 66 centimeters encroachment. So it's 6 centimeters encroachment. So we're asking for 60 centimeters side yard variance, and it seems that it's 66. I didn't find that, but I went and I changed the drawings. I sent to Sharon, as that's the only communication part that they have, and I made that 50 centimeters. So it's gonna be 10 centimeters less than what they are requiring. And also, as I said, so on the side grading, only the 2 points I exchanged only 2 points, A and B. So when they were on the drawings, they were exact, but when the points were pointed, the A was on the front and the B was on the rear. So I just changed those. It was like a mistake. And I don't understand how those mistakes, they can make a decision that not to do it, not to approve it. It's my point. As I'm saying, so it's an existing carport. We're just building on the top of that. So we're not doing anything else. we're just building a wall, let's say, because the roof is there, everything is there. We're just gonna build a wall instead of the 3 columns.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask staff if you can provide comment here. We have the staff report as I read it. You've indicated the grading needs to be revised and the drawings submitted are showing encroachments. The applicants indicated that they've submitted revised drawings. Have those been received and have they been reviewed by staff?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have not received any of the revised drawings. The only drawings that we've received is the drawings that were submitted with the new application. Okay. So after, sorry, just to clarify, after providing the report that did address our concerns, we haven't received the revised drawings.
Okay, thank you.
May I speak?
Sure.
No, because as I said, so the only communication that I have is Sharon, and I send it. I can give you the emails. That was the same last time. That was a misunderstanding because I sent the site grading 2 weeks before the meeting, and that site plan didn't go through the stuff, the other examiners. Once I read for those very small things that they're requiring, for, as I'm saying, so the switch of the 2 points and the 6 centimeters that I went 50 instead of 66, I did the changes. I sent it to Sharon, and she promised me on the email, I can share with you the email that she's going to share with the committee members. So you can see that I did the changes, and it doesn't make any sense that we have to go back for all those small things. So I don't know what to say. It's something that I did change, and
yeah, thank you. Let me.
I can obey on those changes. I can, if the staff is going to say that they agree with that, I can. But at least we approve it.
Yeah,
no, that's the previous one. That's not the.
Okay, thank
yeah, that's the change one. Yeah, I can see. That's
let me ask.
No.
Sorry, sir. Can we just stop? Madam Secretary Treasurer, you were going to add some comments?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I did receive 2 new drawings from Edward like yesterday or the day before, and I said that we would share them during his presentation, but it was too late to add them for the circulation. So we've put them up on the screen now, the 2 new drawings.
Can I comment on those?
That are part of his presentation.
Okay, so these are revised drawings. What are the revisions?
So the revisions are point A was point B, and now point B is point A. So that's I switched at the garage, at the site plan. I switched the points, not below where is the sections, but only on the site plan. Because the point A was lower than the point, the front point, the front of the garage. So they need to be switched, and that was the only thing.
There's also you had a cross section that showed an encroachment into the neighboring property.
No.
Revised?
Yeah, it's the cross section is the other page. If staff can show it. It's another page that I supplied. Yeah, this one. You can see that I changed that to the 12 inches and 4 inches. So it's 16 inches total. Before was 26 inches. And you can see that the foundations are inside, they're not outside. So we did a lot of things so not to, and they're shallow foundations, not to interfere with a neighbor as much as we could. Right now, the existing carport, it's like 20 inches coming out of the post. But as I said, so we're going only 16 inches instead of 24 that was before.
And again, to planning staff, you have not seen or reviewed these drawings.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. We have not received the new revised drawings.
Okay, and so again, sir, it's your desire to proceed with this application tonight, despite the staff comments?
As I said, so I don't know. I went to deferral one time. For me, as I said, so they look very small things to deny this application. The owners are waiting for 2 years now, and I just want to continue. I'm not gonna go deferral, whatever it's gonna be a decision. I don't know. Maybe I have to consult the owners, but as I said, so those drawings are there for the planners to see. There are very small changes that are not. It's only 4 inches going back. I changed the points of the elevations, so I don't know if there are big things to be. They have it. They can check it, and I will agree with their decision.
You're asking the committee to accept technical amendments that haven't been reviewed by the town staff that reviews these matters. But that's, again, that's if you'd like to proceed, we'll see what the committee has to say. But it's your choice. You can seek another deferral. I will give you that opportunity, or we can proceed with the matter and we'll get a decision one way or the other.
Please proceed, sir. I will accept whatever, as I'm saying. So to me, it seems like very light things to be considered, but and I accept any changes if you can, whatever is in your power.
We don't make changes on the fly, sir. So
I understand.
But if we will proceed with the application, then that's your decision.
So I would say that I would agree with the changes that I did. So of those, consider the changes that I did. I want to proceed.
Okay, we will proceed. Madam Secretary Treasurer, I believe we had someone wishing to speak to this matter.
Yes, Mark Jabor. One moment, I'll move him into the meeting.
Good evening, sir. If you can unmute yourself and hopefully turn your camera on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good evening. I'm not sure. I lost the picture over here completely.
That's fine.
My name is Mark Habdior, and I live at 154 Richmond Road. And I am immediate neighbor to 150 Richmond Road. And this minor variance affects my property. So this, just to make it clear, I'm still opposed to erecting structure that close to property, which is not by law 4 feet, let's say 4 feet. And there is many reasons, and which I've stated previously on the meeting in November. But main thing is that 2 feet away, erected garage would affect very much the look of the properties, and also the reason for this is most of the houses in this area, or actually, when I looked through, all of them are spaced out 4 feet at least from the property line. Doesn't matter if it's from a bungalow from 1955 or brand new built, 4,000 or 5,000 square foot home. The lots are 60 foot wide, and there is enough room to build a garage within bylaw zoning. Now, the representative of the owner, I can't see the name, but anyways, is claiming that they cannot fit the car in the carport, and they require 2 feet extra to fit the car in the garage. Now, at this point, the owners are parking a full-size van in there, or sometimes a large construction trailer. So I do not see this, how the small car not fit in a space like that, or a regular car. The door, as I believe, I don't have the plans in front of me, but I think they are calling for 12-foot garage door. This door doesn't need to be that big. It could be 10 foot or 8 foot. In 8-foot garage door, you can fit easily a car. So those are main issues. Now, I moved into this area looking at this house and neighboring homes because of the spaciousness of the architecture in our neighborhood. Building a 2-foot home right against, 2 feet away from my property garage. Anytime the rain overflows eavesdrop, they are going to end up on my property. It doesn't matter if the swell could be created or not. Personally, I've been in construction for 42 years. Personally, I don't see a way of creating a proper drainage in this area. And staff agreed with me, I think, not agreed with me, but noticed this as well. And this issue was not solved properly by representative of the owner for second time. Also, the blueprints submitted blueprints are showing slopes on the backyard towards Oxford Avenue. Instead, the slopes of the backyard are towards my property. The reason for this is that the properties here are sloping towards Ontario going south, and also 16 Mile Creek. So they slope to the west and to the south. So there is no slope going away from my property. So anyways, I know it's late, and you know that I'm opposed to this. And one thing I would like to point out is the recommendations and observations of the staff of town of Oakville. And I'd like to quote this. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal is not desirable or appropriate, as it is unclear there are adverse impacts on drainage by converting the open carport into an attached garage. Now, recommendations are, given the foregoing, it is staff's opinion that the application does not maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan. zoning bylaw is not minor in nature, which I think if it's not minor in nature, it should be treated as a major. And let's keep on going. And it's not desirable. Sorry, not desirable for the appropriate development of the subject lands. Accordingly, the application does not meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and staff recommends that the application be denied. So this is for second time, the observations and the recommendations are exactly the same. And that's why I feel that this application for minor variance, which is, in my opinion, not minor, should be denied. But of course, it's up to you. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for either the applicant or the neighbor? Okay, I see none. Mr. Begay, I can give you an opportunity, but quickly, please, if you want to respond to the neighbor's comments.
I just wanted to clear that the garage door is not 12 feet. The whole garage, including the walls, is 12 feet. And we, as I said before, we went for the minimum width of the garage as for the zoning, because otherwise we have to go for zoning to the garage. So we have one of them we have to go, so we can't go for both. And as for the comments of the neighbor, I tried to contact him. I don't know, I couldn't be in touch with him. I wanted to speak to him to explain the rear of the house, the rear garage, we're not doing any changes. So whatever is there on the way that how the water flows there, we're not doing any changes. We are doing changes only at the existing carport. An existing carport is a structure with a roof with the same roof area that we're gonna build. So the same size of the rain is gonna go, and it's gonna go on the front of the house. And between the two houses, I don't know who has built that or who owns that part of the. It's a strip of the grass that it's higher than my client's asphalt area. So between the house, my client's house, and the other neighbor, it's a strip of the grass that it's at least 3-4 inches higher. So the water can go on that side because of that. And also, I think the owner of the house, he planted like 6-7 trees on his side. So he completely blocks that kind of water to go inside, practically. So I don't see any problem as an engineer that it's going to be a problem for that part of the, because only the driveway is going to be affected, and the driveway is going to stay existing. So he's not asking for widening or doing anything on the driveway. So on the rear, it's going to stay the same. So whatever water he has today, whatever water he is going to have after we build the garage. So I don't see reasons of any. We're not doing changes. No elevations, no anything on the grading plan.
Okay, thank you, sir. Madam Chair, has anyone else called in on this application?
We've had no other calls, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'll close discussion. Committee members, you've heard from staff, the applicant, and the neighbor. I'll be looking for a motion.
I would like to deny it solely on the basis that the planning department has not reviewed the new plans. So I denied the application.
Okay, so Ms. Price, you're gonna have to give me one test that it fails in order to recommend a denial. So, obviously you don't believe it's appropriate given the information in the staff report, so it doesn't represent appropriate development?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion is to deny. Mr. Dickey, any discussion on the motion?
No, I agree with the motion to deny. Also, on the plans we have, the these troughs encroach upon the adjacent property, so that's not desirable or appropriate. So as I say, I agree with denial.
Thank you. So the motion is to deny. All those in favor?
I deny.
Okay, that is unanimous. I'm sorry, sir, but your application has been denied. Madam Secretary Treasurer, do we need a motion to go past 10 to get in this last application?
Yes, we do, please.
Mr. Dickey, would you mind moving the motion to go past 10? Thank you. Thank you. So we will move on to our final application of the night, A105 2023 at 15 Forster Park Drive. Anyone wishing to speak to this application, please call 905-815-6095. I see Mr. Jing in the call. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, Chairman and committee members. Thank you for extending the meeting, and I've been start from beginning to now. Let me go straight to my application. I'm seeking to increase the height from 9 to 9.9 meter. Can you please move to next slide? So the height portion showing what is on the rear portion of the house. The tip of the portion is beyond the 9 meter. Good. Please move to next slide. This is a site plan. From my last community adjustment request, increase the area, increase the height. Then we totally redesigned the house and dropped the front portion of the house. The roof line is much lower than the ceiling on the first floor, and also increase the width between the the new house with the west neighbor. From the narrow part is the 2.4 meter, 8 feet. It's 2 feet more than the bylaw required. And also the front portion is 11 feet away from the property line of the west neighbor. Please move to next slide. We did the shadow study. This is March 21st. The top left image, you can see the shadow is beyond the direct west neighbor. Then the second west neighbor, there's 2 feet past the property line. The rest, we don't have any objection from the direct opposite side of neighbor and my east neighbor. The east neighbor, they have the support letter for me. Let's go next slide. This is on June 21st, 9 a.m. Top left corner, you can see that's the worst scenario for the shadow come to the left neighbor, but not on the direct, my west neighbor. It's all for the other one come about like 8 feet beyond the law line. The shadow will last about an hour. You can see it from June 21st, 12 p.m. Totally the shadow away from any west neighbor. So only an hour, probably an hour last shadow on the west side neighbor. I go next, I think next is our total show the no impact to the west neighbor on the September and December. Next slide, please. That's no shadow on the west neighbor. Next slide, please. See, we're seeking this 9 meter equal 9.9. There's no major impact to the west neighbor. What majority objection related? Please move to next slide. See, I talked to majority neighborhood. I got a 7 letter support. It's not no objection, its support. Then the other two objections, my immediate left neighbor, west neighbor, he mainly, like I say, against the depth of the house. The depth of the house already reviewed by say there's nothing beyond the bylaw. Now I'm seeking for the release. It's really for the height. Then the second objection relate to the floor area. Then we not seeking any floor increase, like in my previous request. So right now only the height, then I believe the whole neighborhood want this gather release from 9 meter to 9.9. I got 7 support letter. The next slide. And also I'm not seeking for any major height increase, only seeking a normal house. It's a current customer home. The height first floor is 10 feet, second floor 9 feet, nothing beyond that. It's only the rear portion of the house beyond the bylaw requirements. Majority, the house, the volume is meet bylaw requirement. So I believe my request should be considered. That's my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And yes, we acknowledge that we've got letters of objections from the Booths, Delaney's, and Cameron's, letters of support from Patrick Hilson, Rosa Bacci, Sonia McClellan, A. Giovino, Matt Wilson, Licia Monicasi, and Mark Fedorsky. Committee members, any questions for the applicant?
No.
Mr. Dickey, you look like you're thinking.
Okay, plain and simple. Why do you need this extra height? Like, why can't you comply? You've got, you got an 11-foot high ceiling, the ground floor, and 9-foot high ceiling height on the second floor. Like, could you just drop one of them? Comply.
I have 10 feet ceiling on the first floor and 9 feet on the second floor. If we drop that 9 feet, make the structure design very difficult. It's costly. Because the normal truss for this span, you need a certain height. The span is 30 feet, then it's seeking for the 7-8 feet height, the truss. Now for the insulation, for the the heat or this HVAC design, majorly structure costs quite high cost.
You realize there's the adjacent houses are just one story. Not like there's other 2-story houses or new houses in there that have that height. So you're the first one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just went down Forest Park, just to the bend, and you're the first house in there that's coming in and building a 2-story house, and you're coming in and want it to be 3 feet higher than what you're allowed. Like you should be, in my opinion, you should be taking that into consideration. We look at properties and we look at transition. We look at what's beside the property and how massive the house will look relative to them. You're still coming out with a house that's 0.9 meters above what's allowed, what your height is allowed by the zoning bylaw.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, basically from my architect designed this house, there's the ratio, the front elevation, the width, the height. Then we need that height for architecture purpose and for structure purpose. If you look at the sideway, then if we drop it, it's going to be really like the architecture wise, I believe it's turned to really ugly design. Chop all that portion off. That's my justification. And also, from the neighborhood support and from the my effort to move the setback on the west. I try my best to accommodate the neighbor's request.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dickey, I'll just say that I had the same observation in my site visit that this would be the first two-story house in this part of the neighborhood. Madam Chairman, or sorry, Madam Secretary Treasurer, has anyone called in to speak to this application?
Yes, we do have a Maggie Booth with her hand up. One moment, I'll move her in.
Good evening, Ms. Booth.
There you go, Maggie Booth.
Committee and Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi there, good evening. Thank you very much for your patience. My name is Maggie Booth. I live at 9 Forster Park Drive. My house is directly adjacent to the proposed property. I am opposed to the 9.9% or 9.9 request for variance. Again, I also believe that this is not minor in nature. The height and the proposed length of this property is a significant change to the existing footprint of the house. I haven't seen or been asked to come to any kind of like agreement in terms of accommodation. We had the same concerns when this was brought up in 2023. And again, like I feel like this will impact our backyard specifically. The height will overlook our backyard, and the proposed length of this property goes to the full width of my backyard. It's just the particular configuration of where we live. This will significantly impact our home and our property. Thank you.
If I may add something as well. I have looked at the plans and
sorry, can we get your name, please, sir?
I'm Winslow Delaney. I'm Maggie Booth's husband. So we are a homeowner here at the property. Yeah, so in agreement with Maggie, the property is that extra 3 feet does take away a significant amount of light and from our backyard, even though the shadow studies show that. Our backyard is very shallow. So we've got about a 10 to 15 foot depth of a backyard. So when we step outside, we will see a large wall with windows looking down onto us. There's also a deck, a proposed back deck that will look directly in, possibly look directly into our living space. So there are privacy issues as well. So it is a significant change for us, and we believe it will impact our living, the imposition of how we will be having to live within our space after being here for a significant amount of time for over 20 years. So it will significantly impose on our quality of life
and enjoyment of our backyard.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for the neighbors? Mr. Ying, would you like to respond to the comments?
Sure. Can I have the site plan be displayed on the screen? See, if you look at the nature of the lot for my neighbor on the west side, their backyard is half like my backyard. No matter how I try, for a new house design, for make sense design, never inevitable to make that short unless I keep the old house as is. And the other one, I address my backyard like a deck. We don't have any balcony on the west end. Even the window is quite small on the front portion only, like a living room on the front part. The back portion is my bedroom. There's no window on the west end at all. Then also the deck is already past my west neighbor's lot line. See, whatever I think the objection, if we considered, is unfair for me to develop a new house there. Everything, we already have a building permit, have a second review for the comments. Then there's no lot depths, any other comments. Then it's almost get approved. Then other than the height, I want to keep the house on the reasonable living height as the majority house in Oakville. That's my answer to whatever the objections.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary Treasurer, is anyone else called in to speak?
We've had no other calls. Maggie Booth would like to speak again.
Sorry, you've had your opportunity, and the applicant gets the last opportunity to respond to that. So unfortunately, I can't let you come back in. So I'm going to close the discussion. Committee members, once again, you've heard opposing views tonight, but I'm looking for a motion on this matter. Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on my review of the owner's application, the site plan, building elevation, my site visit, presentation by the owner's consultant, and planning staff's report, together with the comments by the adjacent neighbor, still having regard to the letter's report, I feel that the increase in height is not minor in nature. It's not appropriate for the development of the site in regard to the adjacent houses, which are only 1-story dwellings. I haven't taken into account to mitigate against that mass and scale impact negatively on the adjacent houses. So I put forth a motion that this application as applied for be denied.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Any discussion on that motion to deny? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to deny the application?
I deny the application.
So that is unanimous. I'm sorry, sir, but your application has been denied.
Can I say something?
It's over now, sir. The application has been denied.
I mean, the motion been saying like
sorry, sir, there's no further discussion. The committee has ruled on this matter. So
but like I think the feel like the wording is.
Sir, the staff have muted you. The application is over, so there's no further discussion. So that concludes the applications for tonight. We need confirmation of the minutes from April 30th. Mr. Dickey, thank you. And I need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Dickey, thank you. The meeting is adjourned at 10:15.